Hey y'all, welcome back. So this is a logging story, and I want to tell everybody thank you who has subscribed and who leaves comments and hits the thumbs up and supports my channel. Thank you very much. Now, if you're wondering what kind of channel this is, I tell stories and Sam Squatch edits my videos and puts his reaction in there. So that ought to explain it to the basic. You want to watch it and see how it works. Hit that subscribe button. Go to notifications, slam the bell. Be sure and give me a thumbs up and always leave a comment. Thank you very much. So here we go with the story. So this is a logging story. Now, this story is when me and the guy that I started logging with, and then another friend of ours, bought our truck, bought an international 2-ton, big old flatbed from our boss, my best friend's dad. And we was doing our own pine tracks, cutting our own pine posts and pine logs. So anyways, we had this track that had a pretty big holler in it. It was pretty deep, pretty steep. So this old international, it never had a problem getting in and out of there though. We had a good road, and so we never really had any issues. Now y'all know I done fell a tree down the middle of this thing, so we had to kick the roof up and fix the hood and do a little, little cosmetic repair. New windshield, that kind of stuff. So this particular time though, we were going to cut a load on a Friday and try to load it up and sell it that afternoon so we'd have money for the weekend, which was usually pretty much the same story every week. So we went out Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. We went out and we just fell a bunch of trees, just fell them, cut them up, stacked them by the road, and had it all ready. So Friday we'd bring the truck in and we was gonna double load it. We figured it'd be able to handle it, which it did. It handled it, no problem, for a minute. But anyways, that's called foreshadowing, I think. I don't know. I'm new to it. But anyways, so we go out Friday morning, and as you guys know, we didn't take water, we took beer. So we start loading this truck, and all day we're drinking beers and loading this truck, and this load just keeps getting higher and higher and bigger. And I mean, it come to a point to where, we was like, we need to go ahead and take some of this back off. Tires were bulging, about to pop, you know what I mean? So anyways, we ended up taking a little bit off the top, and we got it to where, it looked right. It had come up off the springs a little bit. Tires wasn't quite so flat, but we stayed on top of maintenance. It always had decent tires on it. I don't think it ever had new tires, you guys. We didn't have that kind of money. But it always had good tires that would pass inspection. And so anyways, we get this truck loaded down. It's about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, somewhere in there. Now we know the guys that own the post mill, so there'll be somebody there no matter what time we show up. As long as it's within reason, you know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure the mill closes at 5. But it only took us about an hour and a half to get there. And they'd always leave somebody there to help us and give us our money. So it's around 5, and we decide we're going to get out of there. Now, we do have another truck, but it's in bad shape, y'all. I'm talking, it was a old Ford Super Cab. I think that's what they called it. It was a 4-door Ford pickup truck, 3/4 ton. Had a big old 400 something in it. Man, that thing was a beast, 4-wheel drive. But it didn't have no doors. Didn't have a windshield. Had a homemade out of, pallets and lumber from the sawmill, rough cut oak, flat bed. It wasn't even a real bed. It was made out of wood. But this old truck was tough. And I ain't kidding y'all. I mean, that's what it was. We used it to pull some of the logs, or we used it to load a bunch of post on and then drive it to a pile. And we didn't have to be moving our big truck around, So we used that truck in the woods. So we had that truck. But, I mean, this truck was not legal. No headlights, taillights, nothing, y'all. I mean, total beater, right? Straight out of a demolition derby kind of truck. So this is no joke. So we got this International, we got it loaded up, and we're heading out. Now, it's pretty good road. It's pretty flat back in the back part of the track. But right where you had to come out to the highway, it went way down. I mean, gosh, y'all, probably, it was over 100 foot. You know what I mean? 100 foot drop, probably 150 foot drop. And then there's a creek that went right at the bottom that we had to cross, but it wasn't very wide. I mean, it was 3 or 4 foot wide, maybe. Deepest I ever seen it was about 10 inches deep. So it was just some little spring somewhere running down to another creek. But we crossed it. It was narrow. And we did this 100 times. Down there, as soon as you hit that creek, you drop a gear and give her and start climbing that hill. We come down that hill, and I knew something was probably going to happen when we was coming down the hill, and he was hitting the brakes trying to slow down, before we hit the creek. He had her downshifted. It was ours, whoa, lunging. Man, I mean, we had a pretty good load on that truck. So when I noticed that he couldn't get it slowed down the way he was trying to, I figured something bad was going to happen. So he gets it across the creek, and he's already in a low gear, so he don't have to shift. As soon as we get across that creek and that old truck starts to, wind down a little bit, he just punches it. And going up the other side's just as steep, y'all, but it's a little bit higher than the side we'd come from. So we got quite a pretty good distance, a couple 100 feet, easy. Maybe farther, maybe 250, 300, right around 250. But anyways, it was pretty steep incline, and we was climbing it in that old 1 ton or 2 ton International flatbed. Loaded down, way above the cab, overloaded. This truck, I couldn't believe it. So we started that hill in second gear. Whoa, I mean, it was wrapped out. We didn't get halfway up that hill, maybe halfway. and he was already throwing it up in first. This old truck was lugging in second, man. I mean, it was about to give her up, and he clutched it and throwed it up in first. He dropped the clutch, give it the gas, it lunged, like it popped a wheelie. It popped a wheelie. Whoa, boom, come down. Now it's me and the guy driving and my buddy Larry. So there's three of us in the front of this truck, and it's a bench seat style truck. The whole dashboard's steel, right? Everything inside of it is solid steel. So this is sketchy, you guys. No seat belts. I don't even think the truck had the mounts for seat belts. I'm pretty sure it didn't. There was no seat belts. And he hits first gear and he dumps the clutch and gives it the gas, and this thing starts popping wheelies and lunging. Woo! And it's climbing this hill, man. I mean, it's getting her done, right? I can't even remember what size motor was in it, but it was a working. That International was giving her, I'm telling you guys. Woo! We're holding on. Me and Larry's got a hold of the dash like this. This thing's popping wheelies every time it lunges. And it looks like we're about to come to the top of this thing. And me, we're all looking at each other like, woohoo, we did it, right? And all of a sudden we hear a snap. We all looked at each other, we're like, uh-oh, what was that? And that old truck said, whom, whum. Busted a U-joint. Drive shaft come down. And it was in the back, y'all. So, yep, you know what happened. That big load, that old truck, it started rolling backwards, and there wasn't nothing we could do. We couldn't jump out. It was too late. If we jumped out, the door's going to catch you. You're going to get pushed under the truck. It's going to be over for you. You might as well ride it out. So we just sat back and held on. And old boy driving, he's a pretty good driver. I'll give him that. He's a pretty good driver. It could have come out a lot worse than what it did, but it was still a good time. He's trying to steer this thing backwards, because once it starts rolling backwards, all three of us had enough common sense. We knew exactly what had happened. We were just hoping the U-joint in the front broke and not the U-joint in the back, because if the U-joint in the front broke, going backwards, that drive shaft's just going to ride and bounce around, and it's not going to do nothing, maybe break off, no big deal. But if the one in the back breaks, this drive shaft rolling backwards becomes a catapult. That's exactly what happens. We start going down this hill, and we've got well over 100 feet to go down this hill behind us. I mean, we was almost at the top, y'all. He's trying to steer this thing. We all know that this drive shaft is going to catch it any freaking second. The drive shaft. We're hoping that there's so much weight that when it does catch, that it just folds it over and it don't really flip us, right? That's what we're hoping for. So he's backing us down the hill, and this thing's starting to go faster and faster. We can hear that drive shaft hitting everything. Hitting the ground, hitting the truck, hitting the ground, hitting the truck. So, it's inevitable. And for some reason, and I don't know why he did this, but he turned that truck towards the ditch. And I don't know why he did it. And I don't know if he did it or if maybe that drive shaft caught a little bit and just shifted the rear end, just shifted the back of the truck. And that's the way we started going, you know what I mean? He had no way to correct, and that's probably what happened, because I'm pretty sure he was just as surprised as me and Larry when that truck started headed off the road. So then we knew it was going to be bad. We just didn't know which way bad it was going to go. You know what I mean? Was it going to go endo bad, or was it going to go side to side, rolling over? We knew it was turning over. So we hit that ditch, and that ditch was deep, y'all. And then that drive shaft caught in that ditch. And then we heard the snap, snap, snap. And these are our chains and booms. So we've got this load tied down with chains, big chains and big booms. And they were snapping the chains. This load, when it started flipping over, started snapping chains. Which is probably what saved us, to be honest with you. So, this truck hits the ditch and now we're getting upright and all the snapping happens. And so, you know, we know the load's coming off now. And sure enough, snap, snap, as the truck's rolling straight up and down, we're vertical and it's rolling down the hill from the back over the front. Okay, endo. It's a wonder I don't have something wrong with me, but, well, maybe I do. This truck flips over. The load comes off before we hit the ground, which is good because it kind of scatters out all over that road and down the sides of the road. Anyways, our truck rolled over and was landing on these pine poles, you guys. Now, they're all flat, luckily. And so it's kind of rolling while we're rolling. The logs are rolling us. So like when we hit it, it's kind of going with the momentum. And the flip over is a little easier. Well, I don't know exactly how many times this truck went end over end. But it was several. And I mean, at least 3 to 4 times this truck went end over end. And we landed right smack on all tires down in that creek, y'all. That truck said go boom right on its tires, and we just sat there in the creek. Now, there wasn't a lot of water or nothing. It wasn't that big a deal. We did get our feet wet when we jumped out, but we was alive. Now, all the windows were gone. The mirrors were gone. The cab of the truck was now smashed back in again. The hood is ripped off. It's gone. Well, it's not gone. It's up the hill. We could see the hood. It wasn't gone, but it was off the truck. Doors were okay. They were smashed in a little bit with the roof. Headache rack saved us. So this truck, luckily, this truck had a real steel bed on it with the big steel headache rack and all that, and that saved us because it worked a little bit like a roll bar too. It actually worked a whole lot like a roll bar. But the front of the truck, when it would land, because we went backwards, you know, so when it would land, it was landing on the nose of the hood and the roof, the cab. So there wasn't, you know, whatever. But we was all in there bouncing around in that thing like we'd all got thrown in some kind of giant dryer, you know what I mean? It was rough. We come out of there, nobody had any broken bones. We all had knots on our head, and we were all busted up, our faces, lips and noses. We were all bleeding. You know, it was like we just got in a real bad bar fight and nobody was really sure who won because everyone was beat up. So one of them kind of deals. So anyways, we get out, you know, we brush it all off, we rub it out, walk it off, start assessing the situation. So now we know we're definitely not getting a load out. So, and it's getting late. And we're not too sure how we're even going to get out of here. And all we had was a few more beers and a couple cans of potted meat and crackers. And so it became right away, we realized that we was probably going to have to just build us a fire somewhere and camp out by the truck, and no shelters or sleeping bags or nothing. We just made us a little, basically a nest, took a bunch of cedar limbs and piled them up, and we was already cutting pine, so we had pine branch piles already. We just basically made us a big nest and built a fire, and that's how it happened. Ate the rest of our potted meat, stayed the night. Got up the next day, figured out what we was going to do, because now we had to get out of there. We didn't have food or nothing now, you know, and no firearms or nothing. And so there wasn't like we could just stay out there. So we decided, old boy that was with me and Larry, he's going to take he's going to take that old Ford, and he's going to drive into town, and he's going to get a new drive shaft and U-joints. And while he's gone doing all that, me and Larry's going to start flipping all these poles down the hill, down to the truck, and we're going to start loading this truck back up. But we're only going to put the right load on it. We're not going to overload it. We're going to load it how it's supposed to be loaded, and then we're just going to leave the rest piled down there at the bottom by that creek. And it was a double load. And so anyways, we learned a lesson on that one. So old boy leaves in the Ford. Me and Larry, we start working. We get everything down there, and it all works out. By the time he gets back with parts and he starts working on the truck, we're loading the truck while he's working on it. Now this truck sat so high up off the ground, we didn't have to jack it up or nothing. Me and Larry had also kicked the roof back up and got the hood, brought it down. We couldn't put the hood back on. We did get the hood back on later after we took the load in. You know, we tied the hood on the load. But anyways, so we got this truck though to where we could at least drive it out of there and the doors would open. So anyways, we got her lined out good enough. We got it loaded up. Oh boy, he gets the drive shafts and everything, the drive shaft and U-joints put in. And we head on out of there. We get that load out. We get to the pole mill. Them guys are like, we waited on y'all. And you know, we didn't have cell phones back then. But, you know, we was waiting on y'all. We told them what happened. They're all laughing. Everybody's laughing. Somebody probably even peed their pants, who knows, because it's a funny story. I mean, it was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable that happened, and all we got was beat up a little bit. That was crazy. So them guys are like, right on. They can see the truck. They know the story's true because of the condition of the truck. So we take the hood off the load, we put it on the ground, unload the poles, stack them up. They got tools there. We figure out a way to get the hood back on the truck. It just pulled through the bolts, so we just bolted it back on. It wasn't the best, but it stayed. Okay, it worked. It stayed on there. Now the funny thing is, this old truck after that happened was never the same again. Now she drove good and she rode good and she hauled the loads good. But after that, every time we'd stop and we'd pull into that mill, she'd backfire and it would catch on fire and catch the underneath that hood on fire. We'd have to jump out, open her up, pour beer on it, put it out. Almost every single time after we rolled it, that would happen. It would backfire pulling in there and catch on fire every time. Not every time, but I'm gonna say 8 out of 10, y'all. 8 out of 10 it caught on fire. But that old truck was a good truck. We had her for a long time, and we got it dialed back in, windows put back in it, and got it street legal again, you know, where we could legally haul our poles on it and our pine logs. But yeah, that was a good time there. One of the good times. That was one of the probably most exciting, dangerous days of vlogging that I ever experienced, except for the time when we were getting the bullet ricochets on the military base. That was sketchy, and you guys can look that story up. It's in there somewhere. But man, exciting. But we didn't give up. Even though we was beat up, the windshields busted out, and that old truck looked like it just come out of a junkyard, been rolled going down the highway at 85 miles an hour. We did not let that discourage us. We did not sweat it. We didn't sweat it. We squatched it, come up with a plan, and we kept on keeping on. And we got out of there, and we got both them loads out of there in one day. Put out a couple fires on that old truck, and we made it work. No matter what, we made it work. We didn't give up. We got that money. We had to spend a little more extra money, but we got that money. So remember, no matter what's going on, no matter what's happening, somebody's probably got it worse. So don't sweat it. Squatch it. Keep on keeping on. Call somebody. Get a hold of a friend. Call 988. There's people out there that care about you and love you. I'm one of them. There's millions more just waiting to help you out. Peace.